Hello and welcome to this video where I will be breaking down the recent news and the recent revelations about Amazon's Lord of the Rings TV series. So, starting off with then, on the 13th of February, we got this tweet from the official Twitter account. This was just suddenly unveiled, came out absolutely nowhere. We had this quote from J.R.R. Tolkien himself: "I wisely started with a map." And for 2 days, there was absolutely nothing in follow-up to that. That was just it. It was the start of their account, first tweet, it's all we got. And then 2 days later, we got this first map. And it was this map that was completely unlabelled. There was something that was very curious about it immediately, something that was very surprising to a lot of people. And I think this was something that was done on purpose by Amazon, by this Twitter account, to try and draw focus to what the labels might be on this map. Because clearly they hold some significance. And we're going to move on to that now then, because just today, a few hours ago, they have unveiled another map. And this time, we have labels. This time, we can see when this TV series is going to be set because of these labels. So I'm going to walk you through that. So starting off with then, the first thing that we notice is so unusual is that Rohan is not labelled. And instead, we get the label of Calenardhon. Apologies if I messed up that pronunciation, but either way, Calenardhon. And Calenardhon was actually the name of Rohan before Eorl the Young, the first king of Rohan, liberated it with Gondor. Now, the battle to claim this land took place in the Third Age in the year 2510. And so we know, therefore, this cannot be set after that date. We know it is set hundreds and hundreds of years before the event of Lord of the Rings, at least, because of that. And now I've just mentioned Gondor. I've just mentioned how they aided Rohan in that conflict, or aided Eorl the Young, I should say, because of course it wasn't Rohan until he made it Rohan. But Gondor is another label also missing from this map. That's another thing we notice. And I've heard some people argue maybe it's just not labelled yet. Maybe in 2 days' time we'll get another tweet and then Gondor will be labelled. But I don't think that's true. With Gondor being such a central figure of importance in Middle-earth, I find it very unlikely that they would not be labelled at this time, with places like Khand being labelled and Rhun. So I find it very unlikely for that to be true. Instead, I believe again, Gondor is not labelled, like Rohan is not labelled, because Gondor does not exist yet. Now, Gondor was actually founded far earlier than Rohan. Gondor was founded right at the end of the Second Age, before the Battle of the Last Alliance, of course. And so, through that then, we would think that this TV series is set even before then. We would assume that this TV series is actually set somewhere in the middle of the Second Age, somewhere before Gondor even existed. And the words that have accompanied each of these tweets have been the words that are, of course, written on the first page of the Lord of the Rings, before even the contents page. Firstly, we had 3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky. Then, just today, we've had 7 for the Dwarf Lords and their Halls of Stone. And so naturally, next we would expect, of course, 9 for mortal men doomed to die, and maybe more beyond that as well. And of course, it may just be a coincidence. They are obviously very famous words regarding Lord of the Rings. So you could argue it's just really quite an obvious choice. But I think, again, there is that second hidden meaning there. I believe, again, that they are using these quotes because the TV series will be set and based around the forging of these great rings. Now, what is interesting as well is that the Rings of Power began to be forged midway through the Second Age. They began to be forged, I think, in 1500 of the Second Age. Now, these rings were forged by Celebrimbor, and of course they were the Elven rings, and they were never actually touched by Sauron. But the One Ring was actually forged in the year 1600, so 100 years after this. And in the exact same year as the One Ring was forged, the 2 blue wizards, LOTR and Palander, which we never actually meet, of course, in the Lord of the Rings books, or in the Lord of the Rings movies, or Hobbit movies, or anything like that, they arrived in this exact same year, in 1600, as well as Glorfindel. and they were sent on a mission to the east. And apparently, of course, this is something that was only really spoken about by J.R.R. Tolkien or written in letters or little notes. But apparently they were very kind of crucial and very decisive in playing a role in the downfall of Sauron at the end of the Second Age in the Battle of the Last Alliance. And the reason I'm mentioning them is because this map stretches so unusually far east. If you look at any normal map of Middle-earth, any usual map of Middle-earth, you go on Google and search them, you'll notice that they don't really stretch as far east as this one does. And again, I think that is a little bit of a clue. I think that's very intentional by Amazon here. And I believe that we will be getting a plot line involving these two blue wizards, where they travel off into the east and have this role to play in Middle-earth. So if I were to summarise them, I would say this. Through this map, we can learn that the TV series will most likely be set midway through the Second Age, before the creation of Gondor and Rohan, possibly during the time of the creation of the 20 Rings, and we may also be getting a sort of side plot line of the two blue wizards and their dealings and doings in the east. So obviously originally it was reported, of course, that that Aragorn would be the focus of this, and it would be a young Aragorn story. But from every clue we're getting so far, this TV series should be set hundreds of years before Aragorn is even born. And that could be very, very interesting. We're going to get loads of amazing content. We might even finish, the whole series might end up finishing at the Battle of the Last Alliance. And that would be an amazing, epic conclusion. And it would just line up perfectly with the Lord of the Rings movies, as of course they sort of begin there. So thank you for listening and watching this video. I may make more of these. Of course, it's been a very long time since any video of any sort has been made on this channel. But if we get more interesting information like this, and there's more interesting theories that I can make, then I may be making more videos like this. But thank you for watching anyway. See you next time, which may or may not be in about 3 years.